Now it is 21 minutes past 9 and it's time for a look at this morning's papers. Writer and broadcaster Vicky Beeching is here with all the stories that have caught your eye this morning. And what are we starting with?
Let's start with an interesting one about Google and the right to be forgotten. So this past Tuesday, the European Court of Justice ruled that when it comes to search engines, everybody should actually have the right to be forgotten. Now, one of the things about the internet that we often say is that whatever you do in life, you put online, it's there forever. And this is really breaking with that tradition. They've ruled that if there's something online that you don't like, you have the right to actually ask for it to be taken down.
We've talked about this a little bit this morning, but what sort of thing would people want to be taken down?
Well, there's different stories about people, especially professionally, wanting things erased, you know, things that they've done, criminal convictions, because as you know, when you go for a job interview, people usually type your name in. But I think obviously it will depend on how each person feels. We're all sensitive to different things, so I'm sure they will draw the line at ridiculous things like, you know, this photo doesn't make me look good. But part of my PhD is actually in the ethics of technology. So I'm very interested in this because it almost implies that we can do things in life, put them online and have them erased. And I think there's something quite healthy about having to have consequences digitally because it makes us consider what we do before we do it.
There's a distinction here, though, isn't there? Because what the legal right is to have the search engine not have that information. That doesn't mean the information's not out there somewhere.
It is true. So it's out there somewhere, but they're sort of blocked from picking it up, aren't they? So the kind of go-to search engine, and also this is only relevant to European versions of the search engine. So
and it's interesting because we really are finding our way in this, aren't we? Because this is the first kind of generation to have this issue, I guess.
Right, so. Yeah. Children growing up with a digital footprint, but consequences are further and further away. For example, with trolling, you know, if I send you a nasty message online, I don't get the consequence of your upset face like I would in real life. So I think the more we take those consequences away, possibly the worse will behave. That's just my hunch.
I think that's a valid point.
A story from France you have now.
This is great.
I love this.
Teenage boys are joining with their female students at 27 sixth form colleges in France to protest against the way that girls, when they wear skirts, get whistled at, ogled, and generally feel actually quite vulnerable. So there's a brilliant picture here of an 18-year-old boy displaying his hairy legs, and they're celebrating something called the Day of the Skirt, where over 100 of these boys are going to be joining with their female students saying, leave the girls alone, everybody should be free to wear a skirt and not be hassled.
A couple of things spring to mind, looking at this particular image here. Can you see this? Can we get in on the close-up here? A couple of things spring to mind, and it's interesting that they're offering their support. That boy is wearing a skirt a lot longer than I think most girls' skirts are. Because there's been this big thing about, you know, head teachers trying to get girls not to wear such short skirts, isn't there?
That is a very interesting point, I suppose.
But he's chosen to wear quite a long version.
The thing that strikes me immediately is the confidence with which he carries that off. He doesn't care, does he?
No, I mean, not many 18-year-old boys would be able to do that, but I think it's impressive. But, I mean, personally, as a feminist, I would say that women should be free to actually wear as shorter skirts as they want, and that it's actually to do with the response of those creating the problem. So women can't be responsible to kind of carry themselves in a certain way just to stop people being lustful or offensive. The offence has to be placed with the offender.
That's interesting, isn't it? So those head teachers, male or female, who have those rules, you think are kind of getting the equation the wrong way around?
I think at school it's slightly different. I mean, we had a rule at school where I think you had to like put your arms by your sides and your skirt couldn't be longer than your fingers. But then that does depend on the length of your arms, doesn't it?
I think you mean couldn't be shorter than your fingers.
Shorter than your fingers, yeah, shorter than your fingers, exactly.
Where are you going to take us next?
Speaking of clothes, this is a digital invention. I'm a complete geek, so this appeals to me. This is a new innovation called the dynamic closet. It's a digital wardrobe. You might want to consider getting one. So you take a picture of all your clothes with your smartphone, you put them all into these different compartments, and then when you wake up in the morning, you type in on your smartphone or tablet what you want to wear, or perhaps just the colour scheme that you want, and it will actually find you the clothes digitally and produce them. And it will also tell you if you wore them recently, with a date stamp, and it'll tell you if you're making a bad fashion choice.
So hang on, it doesn't decide for you?
No, you decide, but it's all digitally operated, so you...
Because that's what I would like. I would like an app where someone just went, oh, just wear that.
I think it can do that too. If you say, I fancy wearing, you know, blues today, and something I haven't worn in 6 months, it will have an algorithm to produce you an outfit.
Does it exist?
I mean, it does. It costs, unfortunately, between £3,000 and £4,000. But apart from that minor issue...
I would just say, do you not have a nice, kind friend who could do it for you instead?
A live-in stylist.
Yes.
And you've got one more story you can look at, and we're looking at the Collosseum. What's
Final
happening
story,
now?
yes. My very favourite place in the world is Rome, and the Collosseum, as you know, is a gorgeous landmark. It was built 2,000 years ago, and it's about to get its first ever makeover. It's costing £20 million. And the thing I loved about this story is they were trying to decide how best to clean off the grime without actually damaging the stone. And the tool of choice is a toothbrush. So I can't imagine how long it's going to take.
That's going to take a while.
So individuals armed with toothbrushes.
They've got a proper company doing it. Apparently some larger brushes will be used, but for the majority of the work, to protect the stone, they've got an army of people.
You've got to hope that it's an electric
with
toothbrush,
Well, I
haven't
suppose
you?
it's to do with the intricacy of the stonework and whatever, because you have to get into the...
Exactly, yeah, the
various
tiny
bits.
cracks and crevices and protecting the historicity of the building.
How long will that take?
That's what I'm wondering. Must
Yeah.
be a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, I presume they get round one side and then they'll need to start over again like they do with this Sydney Harbour Bridge.
It's
isn't it?
constant, right?
OK,
That's a
we're
job.
done for time now. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good to see you
Vicky.
this morning.
This is Breakfast. We're on BBC